Greetings! Welcome to the SciFi Pubcast, a podcast that tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. As always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bar. If you're passionate about something you want to be in a podcast, well, let us know, because this bar is all about community. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you find this show and subscribing to our YouTube channel. I'm Joel. I'm the owner of the SciFi Pubcast, so to speak. And let's see who's at the bar today. We have our regular staff members, Keri Simpson and Derek BB. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, yes, it's 2024 and we're back. Yes, a month late, but so we're back. That's something.
Oh, it's still January, so we're okay. We're good.
Yeah, then we're good. So that's the voice of Keri Simpson. Keri, how's your day and what's happening in the hills of Southern California or the beaches of Southern California?
I'm in the valley of Southern California.
Oh, there's
or at
okay.
least in the San Fernando Valley, which is semi-flat and it's nice and sunny and as it should be. You wouldn't think it was winter here with all the sunlight, but at least it's not cold. So that's always a good thing. I can turn the heater off so that you guys don't hear any strange clicking while we record.
Excellent.
I'm so nice to you guys.
Hey, it's so nice.
Yeah.
And have you got your invitations to the Oscars yet? That's coming up next month, right?
I don't get invited to those kinds of parties.
Well, you should. I wish I knew people in the academy, but
I don't need to go to those kinds of parties. It's all good.
Not even go up in the balcony like Wardolph and Statler?
No, not necessary at all.
Oh God. All right, Derek, man, how about the hills of Pennsylvania? How are you doing, and what's happening in these parts?
Well, there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about on an open channel, but most of it's almost done. And the important thing is I'm inching ever closer to self-publishing. Nice. I now have a finished final professional cover for the first book, but now I need to get the cover for the second book because I need to release them 30 days apart. So book 1 is locked and loaded, but now I have to get book 2 ready before I can release book 1. So I'm hoping book 1 will come out in February at this point because my cover guy can make the second one in March. So
wow.
I'm hoping February will finally happen. I've been saying that for a few months now, but we're getting closer.
Yeah, super exciting times. Yeah, super exciting times. And now with the pub, we're going to try to do monthly episodes. Don't hold us to that, but personally, I've been extremely busy doing stuff that I should actually put in the back burner, but it's at the front burner. So I'm behind my dissertation. I got major revisions. I got to do my first chapter, and working ever so slowly on that. I read a lot. I read a lot, and I consume a lot of pop culture, science fiction stuff online and through the literature stuff. So, and I read a lot of journal articles on real space law and space science STEM stuff. And I think I've lost more hair. Speaking of losing hair and growing older, I just had my 50th birthday. Yeah, a week and a half ago. So I'm officially an old geezer. Yay! Yeah, me.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Joel.
Yeah, there we go. So that's happening. I'm still living my best life. I'm still attending bar at the graduate student bar on campus, which is at Western University, located in London, Ontario, Canada. And speaking of which, yes, I'm actually recording at the major library on campus because I don't have Wi-Fi at my place. Just trying to save money. So I'm in a tiny little cubicle office type thing that overlooks my workplace where I work at the bar, and I can see my apartment building way in the distance. Yes. I now live within 2 square miles of everything I ever do in life for the most part. Yay.
Save on gas.
As long as it works, man.
Oh, pathetic. But since we are still a pub, so to speak, and I'm still the owner, so to speak, I got to ask Derek this question because he's in charge of the kitchen. Derek, man, how's our kitchen doing?
It's great, and it's a Sunday at 3 p.m., so of course you know what we're doing. We're getting ready for the big AFC Championship game. We've got the Chiefs and the Falcons, and since Tay-Tay is there, we've got themed food for her. We've got lavender haze scented candles everywhere. We've got Midnight's Black Forest cake. We've got bejeweled chocolate chip cookies with, little sprinkles on them. And we've got anti-hero antipasta salad.
Hey, Joel,
Yeah.
I was told there would never be any sports on this podcast.
Yeah. Like I like my sports, but that's maybe in like a mirror universe or a parallel universe.
Maybe.
We may be doing something. But yeah, Derek, man, that's not the topic for today.
We're not doing a live cast of the game.
No, listen. With all due respect,
We don't have the rights to do that, dude.
To the Kansas City Chiefs and Miss Taylor Swift and all that. I'm sorry, but we're not even a musical podcast. Like we don't do pop music usually, right? We're a geek science fiction / fantasy type hobby podcast.
I spent months getting written consent from the National Football League.
Wait.
I spent $2,000 of your dollars, Joel.
Just send me the invoice.
Wait. Derek is admitting to spending money on the Pubcast.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I stole the corporate credit card to use it.
Wait. Joel, we have a corporate credit card? When did this happen?
Yeah, it's otherwise known as my personal credit card because I get credit rating.
Yeah,
at least right now.
Did you consent to this, Joel?
Yeah, no, I did not.
Okay, so we should be filing some fraud charges here pretty soon, right?
Right, maybe that. Hey, listen, this doesn't mean we'll do like a Super Bowl episode in 2 weeks' time or whenever the Super Bowl is. Is 1 week time? Was it 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
I know. 2 weeks. See, I messed up because I'm still thinking the Pro Bowl is a week before the Super or the week after the Super Bowl, but they've changed the order of things, and I just can't keep up anymore.
Yeah. I think they put the Pro Bowl before the Super Bowl because they knew that nobody gave a shit about the Pro Bowl, so they tried to.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, let's see. This is, of course, the intro for the show we are doing, because the year is 2024 now, right? And let's see what's happening in our universe. Taylor Swift is dating me, Joel, who's a tenured law professor at Yale University, but has a side gig as a successful Shakespearean actor on Broadway, doing musical interpretations of Hamlet and Macbeth, backed up by breakdancing Ewoks. Meanwhile, the Academy has nominated Keri for the Best Director Oscar for the science fiction film DC Into Darkness, an exploration of the hero's journey of superheroes and what it means for humanity. And Derek,
wait. I am so no. Why are you putting me in charge of anything? Like, dude, no. I'm in charge enough. I'm put in charge enough to know that I don't like being in charge. So no, thank you.
Thank God this is apparently just the mirror universe, is not the prime universe. But in the mirror universe or the parallel universe or even the alternative timeline universe, Derek, guess what Derek's doing? He's the proprietor of a 3-star Michelin restaurant in New York's Lower East End, specializing in gourmet sandwiches. Which is and has won multiple Hugo and Nebula awards for his writing on the sex lives of space elves. Really, yeah.
I thought you were going to go with high-profile gigolo.
This actually does not surprise me at all, Joel.
No. This explains why Joel grew a beard. It's because he's secretly the mirror evil version of himself.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that makes all the sense.
Hey, listen, I just rewatched Star Trek: The Original Series, season 2, the Mirror episode where Spock has evil Spock has a goatee. Mm-hmm. Great episode. Yeah, highly recommend that. But thankfully, we're not talking about you, me, and Derek and all that, parallel universe. We're talking about the Star Trek version of such things. So there's that. So I won't go off doing Shakespeare and then about my experience as a tenured law professor, or dating Taylor Swift. Yeah, that's pure fantasy. Oh God. So we're doing about mirror universes. So what do you mean by that, guys?
Well, I mean, the mirror universe is, it was started off with Mirror Mirror and then has continued from there, both in print and in geez, I can't talk anymore. We just started the damn podcast. I already can't talk. Crap.
Did you mean television and
Television.
also in print?
Yes. That's what I mean. Thank you, Derek. God's help us. Derek is the one rescuing me from shit right now.
Hey, how about this? Why don't I try to explain it, and then you guys correct me, because I'll leave out some of the technical details, okay?
Okay.
So basically, there's different descriptions made because they all have a slight nuance. It may not be the same thing, but overall, it doesn't particularly matter in terms of storytelling. So the first example of a mirror universe is the original series of Star Trek, Mirror Mirror, where through a transportation little hiccup, you have Kirk and a few other of the bridge officers got swapped to this different universe where most things are the same, but they're more of a fascist state about the empire, and so it's the worst qualities of humanity rather than the best qualities of humanity. So conquest, greed, betrayal, treacherous, all this stuff is just permeated throughout their society. Yet it's mostly the same ships, slightly variations of the uniforms and the technology. It's kind of one big what if. How's that as a little bit of an intro?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and then that got picked up. Surprising enough, not in Star Trek The Next Generation. There's never been a multiverse episode, to my knowledge, in Star Trek Generation.
Not a multiverse episode, but there was a Mirrorverse novel, which was interesting.
Yeah, which I've never, of course, read because I'm way behind my reading.
They did do like alternate reality episodes, but not specifically the mirror universe. Like there was that famous season 7 episode Parallels where Worf is going through infinite parallel universes, but it had nothing to do with the mirror universe.
Yeah, that was more like a butterfly effect type thing.
Yeah, there's a different way to actually do the same, like almost the same kind of shtick, but with slightly variations, parallel universes, alternate timelines, butterfly effects. We do have Star Trek Picard season 2, where a lot of the action took place in a different universe, so to speak. But it's not the mirror universe, but it's a different reality. I think how they phase it, and you see a fascist state in terms of the Federation of Planets.
Yeah.
You have this fascism theme coming out. I wonder why. It's been around for a long time now.
Well, I mean, it's never a bad time to warn against the evils of fascism. So
there you go. Yeah, but we also have several different episodes of the Mirror Universe in Deep Space Nine, and we have 2 episodes in Enterprise where you have Cochrane actually taking on the Vulcan ship when they first landed for first contact, which is an interesting little spin of what if.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what did I? What else is there?
I mean,
the
first
whole Star
season
Trek
of
Discovery.
Oh yes, that's highly the Mirror Universe is highly important to the first season, and that's kind of a couple of the first plots. And I should say, we're talking spoilers, so we're talking about old content. So if you haven't seen Star Trek Discovery, like season 1, you really should watch it. Okay.
Yeah, you really should.
Yeah.
So, but I've never read the books. Have you guys read any of the books that deals with these types of literary devices, like the Mirror Universe?
Really, really just Dark Mirror, and there was one that I think John Jackson Miller, I want to say, wrote. But hold on.
I actually have not read the Dark Mirror one, but I've read all the other ones. So the William Shatner in the 90s, he kind of made his own little continuity line of books starring Kirk after he got resurrected after dying in Generations. And they're actually really entertaining books. Back then, Star Trek novels were very small in scale. They just played like TV episodes. They didn't have any kind of continuity. So his books were very revolutionary for the time because they were like big, epic Star Wars style action adventures, and they were all in like a single linked continuity with each other, while also crossing over between all the different franchises, TNG, right. DS9, Voyager. So they were very entertaining. And he did an entire trilogy. Well, I say him, but it's really Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens who actually write these things. He's just like the idea man. But he did a very good trilogy that took place in the Mirror Universe with the evil Kirk as the villain. That was very entertaining. And then in the larger post-Nemesis continuity, which I just recently went through over the past few years, and it's really great. So if you're a Star Trek fan, it's really worth doing a deep dive into this line of books. It's so cool the way it's all one big continuity and all the different series cross over with each other. But they had multiple things set in the Mirror Universe. So there was an entire little mini series of just Mirror Universe stories. And then that eventually crossed over with the main line because you had a bunch of little Mirror Universe short stories. And then the final one, which is, I didn't read all those little ones, but I did read the final one by David Mack, who is an amazing author. He writes all my favorite Star Trek novels, but that was basically the life story of Emperor Spock from Mirror Mirror. And it's the story of how he, took over and changed the Empire into something else, and how the alliance of the Klingons and Cardassians eventually overthrew him. Great book, great read. And then that feeds into the main line because there is a Bashir Section 31 novel about him going on a mission into the Mirror Universe to steal their tech, and then that kind of becomes part of the storyline towards the end of the larger run. So those are all really good books and really worth reading.
Of course, they said Bashir into the Mirror Universe to steal Mirror Universe tech. That makes all the sense in the world.
Oh yeah, and I can't wait for Section 31, the TV show, to be filmed and come out, right? So I think they just started.
It's supposed to be a movie, isn't it?
So, oh, that's right. They went from a series to one feature length film.
Man, I forgot that was still happening.
Yeah, so I love the whole Section 31 business because I like dark, shady intelligence organizations. Yeah, a bit of a bias there. There's that. Yeah.
Oh, and you mentioned before about how Next Generation didn't have any Mirror Universe episodes. I don't know if I read this anywhere explicitly, but I do know that the larger issue was that when TNG first started, Gene Roddenberry didn't want to have any connections to the original series at all. He wanted everything to be brand new, and they weren't allowed to make any continuity references or bring back any characters. And then even after he got sick and died, his successor, Rick Berman, always wanted to do what Gene would have wanted. So he was always very hesitant to allow any kind of continuity, any kind of reference to the old series. It was a big deal when they got Sarek and Spock on and Scotty. So those were really big exceptions to the rule that he begrudgingly went along with. So that's probably why they never did a Mirror Universe episode.
Yeah, I remember hearing a bunch of stuff about that, and they didn't want. Yeah, they didn't want to be self-referential, except for Naked Now, which we can either forget or not forget existed, depending on your mood, I guess.
Well, I can see that because I don't like when you have a huge franchise and everything is just so interconnected, like Star Wars. To me, there's a tipping point where it takes away from the story as opposed to adding value to the story. So I think you have to find the right balance. And of course, which is a meaningless phase because what is the right balance? What do you actually mean by that? I've been on this horse for the last couple of months. When each time I'm in a meeting, and I digress a bit, and someone says, we need the right balance, and then I go off and on a little diatribe, which I'm doing right now. But carry on. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, the problem with not having continuity is you can't have any character growth if you don't have the characters remember what they did, last week or the week before or the previous season and stuff like that. I mean, that's partly, I think, how we get, and the forever ensign Harry Kim, who is, they go through 7 seasons and he never gets promoted once, really.
Well, maybe he's a bad Starfleet officer. He's completely incompetent.
No, he really wasn't. Oh, and
yeah.
But also, it's I've been listening to lots of stuff about Voyager lately and how they weren't allowed to keep continuity from the most part. They had a few like, you know, three-part arcs and stuff like that, but really they didn't have a whole lot of continuity, and that kind of works to some extent, but I mean, they are on this 70-something year mission to get home, and if they're not, if there's no progress, then Voyager just turns into Gilligan's Island, right? The 3-hour tour is, 15 hours or something like that.
And we can thank Rick Berman again for that one too, because with Deep Space Nine, Ira Stephen Bear fought with him to allow things like continuity and war stories to happen. And so he kind of eventually, caved into the pressure from Ira. But then when the next one came along with the younger, Jerry Taylor and Brandon Braga in charge, he put his foot down and said, no, you're not doing it on this one. This one's going to be just like before. No continuity, no changes.
Yeah, I wonder if you like Derek, Keri, myself, like what are our versions in the multiple universe, and is there a writer writing our life story right now? The fates perhaps. I don't know. Like is there like a evil Joel, or is that's probably very subjective? Is there a good Joel out there? Can be a better Joel than the Joel in this prime universe?
Well, again, you've got the beard,
possibly.
So.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Maybe there's a Joel who doesn't like beer or alcohol. That'd be interesting, right? Maybe he's a teetotaler.
Yeah, that would be very weird.
Oh no, God.
I think the strength of the mirror universe concept is not when they just do, it's an evil version of you, but when it's a different version of you, like a different path you could have taken. I think that some of the mirror universe episodes are really cool, but some of them really fall into the trap of everyone's evil or everyone's bisexual now. They're just trying to do a dumb twist without any thought behind it. Like the Kira intendant character became such a cartoonishly bad character as it went along. So the best episodes are the ones where we see, what could have been, as opposed to just, the good people are evil and the bad people are good.
Yeah. But speaking about this, have you been any bad people in the mirror universe become good people? Like, is there a good version of, say, Khan out there or any other of the major Star Trek?
We don't know.
Has that yet to be written yet? That'd be cool.
The most notable example is Emperor Spock from the very first episode. And again, that was kind of a bit of a dopey 60s writing. It's like, everyone's evil until our hero Kirk shows up and gives a speech, and now he's going to be good forever. So that's a little dumb. But I said, there is an entire novel about Emperor Spock's journey that's really good, and it shows how he basically masterminded this plan to dupe the entire galaxy into turning good, and it's really well written and well done. But yeah, that is a very notable example. Emperor Spock started as the evil first officer on the ISS Enterprise, and he ended up becoming the emperor of an entire benevolent empire who changed the face of the galaxy based on one stirring little speech from James T. Kirk. And you could also point to the human characters in the DS9 mirror episodes, because after Bashir visits and then Sisko visits, they lead a rebellion against the Cardassian Klingon alliance, and we get to see their successes against them. Now, I did complain before about where mirror episodes are just kind of like black and white stories. Now, I would say that the season 4 one, Shattered Mirror, that one is a little bit of an obvious story, but I love that story because we got to see Worf as a bad guy with Garrick as his court jester, and we also had a huge space battle of the Defiant versus the Mega Klingon destroyer that was so cool. So that one was a little superficial, but I love that one anyway. That's a great episode.
Yeah. Well, and getting to see Michael Dorn, kind of just chew scenery as, evil Worf was just fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Come on, that was great.
Which one? Oh, go ahead.
What? No, go ahead.
No. I cut you off, Keri. Go ahead.
No, I forgot what I was gonna say. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just there was an episode with probably 2 episodes with Chief O'Brien, but he plays this dissident rebellion. Smiley. Oh God. It's talking about Irish stereotypes, right?
And another great example of a good example of a mirror universe episode is the season 3 episode of DS9 where Cisco goes through for the first time and he gets to meet his dead wife. So that's something different and interesting because he lost his wife before the pilot even began, and this is the first time he gets to see a version of her again since the pilot. So that was an interesting character piece as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that in the first season of Discovery, they made it a point to say that the knowledge of the mirror universe has to be classified, because if not, it would tear basically the social fabric of society apart, because everyone who has lost a loved one will do everything in the power to go and try to meet another version of the loved ones.
Well, and that also it kind of retroactively, makes it believable that Kirk would have no knowledge of the mirror universe because it's probably above his pay grade to know about Discovery's first forays into that. And who knows? But Spock probably doesn't even know what his sister got up to in the mirror universe. So,
right,
yeah.
I think the other larger issue is that you don't want people to know about these other universes because Starfleet tries to be a moral organization, and the question becomes, if there's an entire universe of people suffering and dying, do you have a moral imperative to intervene in there? Do you go in there and expend your own lives and blood and treasure to try to help these people? But if there's a million universes, where does it stop? Where does your obligation end to do the right thing?
That's a good point. I've never heard that as a reason for why they don't talk about the mirror universe. But yeah, I mean, that's a good. I mean, in a way, it's like the mirror universe really isn't sustainable, or it shouldn't be, because if your goal in life is to constantly screw other people over in order to obtain power, then that is not a recipe for maintaining a healthy universe and stuff. That's kind of like, it's counterintuitive to always be how have any of the characters survived up to this point if there's just the constant threat of backstabbing and death? It's like, survival of the fittest only gets you so far.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to actually cooperate rather than have conflict to a large degree, because that's how we exist as and survive as a species. And I think there's lots of I'll say historians or behaviorists. Historians, folks who look at the long version of humanity, right, and saying villages and hunting gatherers had to cooperate to survive rather than killing each other. Mm-hmm. But yet we have so many cases in history and in the present day of humans killing humans. So, yeah.
And when we see that kind of backstabbing culture, regime, dictatorship in history, those always eventually fall apart. The Roman Empire, Nazi Germany, Donald Trump's term, they eventually all just turn on each other and it just becomes chaos and the government falls apart. It's like you said, it's not a sustainable concept. Eventually it all just breaks up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
I threw a joke in there, but nobody laughed.
No. That's not, no. Yeah, no one laughed because it's in truth. Yeah. Okay. You know what? Should it be classified? My mind turned to talking about the real world stuff, right? Is you have the Genocide Treaty Convention that's been signed for a number of decades, and the problem. And there's a problem with the Genocide Treaty is the fact that it has to be called genocide for a positive obligation on states to do something about it. That's why it's so difficult to call something genocide in a legal term, because it's obliged states to actually take up arms with probably permission of the Security Council of the United Nations. So that's why it has never actually been used in such. Now there's a slightly different variation in terms of the Rome Treaty of the International Criminal Code that's separate from the Genocide Treaty. But it's these positive applications. Like, where do you draw the line? Do you start
Exactly.
World War III or something? At the end of the day, you need to do more good than bad. Yet that doesn't mean stick your head in the sand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. Just the policy, like the public policy aspects of this, of the mirror universe, and whether it should be classified or not.
The secret policy.
Yeah, exactly. But going back to Star Trek and how this is used as a plot device in many of the episodes, do you think it's it adds or distracts from the storytelling? I know, Derek, you spoke a bunch about this already, about having two-dimensional characters, good versus evil, and no pun intended in terms of the dimension stuff. But it can be used, in my opinion, to flesh out good story ideas, right? Good character development. You want to add anything to it?
Well, like I said, there's good examples of it and there's bad examples of it.
Yeah.
The DS9 episodes started out great. I think the first two or three are really solid, but the last two I hate. The season 7 Resurrection and season 6 Resurrection and season 7 The Emperor's New Cloak. They were just cartoonish. They were just bad. I didn't like those. But I did think that the Discovery one was very cool, because the plot twist that Lorca was from the Mirror Universe was such a cool twist, because he was such a fascinating character. Yeah. And they never showed the original good Lorca. That I wonder if they'll do that in a novel or something eventually. But yeah, that was such a cool twist, and it was very cool to see them discovering the Mirror Universe for the first time. They really made it intimidating and dangerous. And let's see. Yeah, I haven't seen those episodes forever, but yeah, Emperor Giorgio was a cool character who even got kind of a redemption arc, so that was cool as time went on. And I remember Tilly having to pretend to be evil was a lot of fun. So I'd say the Discovery episodes were definitely a success. The original TOS episode, it's pretty cartoony. It started all this, but it's that kind of like 60s level of sophistication, like where it's a very simple black and white issue of good and evil. But like I said, the novels that spun out from that were very interesting and cool. So the early DS9 episodes, the novels, and the Discovery stuff was all great. Oh, and the Enterprise one was very silly. I remember Scott Bakula was just kind of like angrily shouting at everyone, so that one was a little dumb.
Well, that one was interesting because it kind of tied back into what was it, the Tholian web.
That was a very cool piece of continuity.
Because that was the ship from the Tholian web that got sent back in time and found by the Mirror Universe Enterprise crew.
Yeah, that was a great piece of continuity.
And plus, we got Emperor Hoshi, and Emperor Hoshi is.
Yeah. Yeah, I seem to remember thinking that as being one of those dumb, like, oh, it's the evil version or whatever. I did love the opening scene though, where they recreate the First Contact movie, and then Cochrane like whoops out a shotgun and starts gunning down the Vulcans.
Yeah, that was cool. I seem to remember. I don't know if this is in one of the novels or not, or if it's just something that's rumored online. But there is a rumor that at least as far as the Mirror Universe goes, is that Emperor Giorgio is somehow a descendant of Emperor Hoshi.
Ooh, okay.
Which is interesting, but they never say anything about the Prime Universe Giorgio being in any way related to Hoshi. So I'm not sure how that works.
I know there is a novel starring Emperor Giorgio. I've bought it, but I haven't read it, so it's probably in that.
Die Standing.
Yeah,
That's the
book you were talking about by John Jackson Miller. Yeah. I haven't read it.
Yeah,
but
it has. It says nothing about Giorgio's
lineage.
It just kind of. So there's something that happens to her when she was prior to Discovery season 1 that comes back to bite her in the non-Mirror Universe timeline, the Prime Universe timeline. So that's the only thing I'm gonna say.
Now, do you think the whole multiverse thing has been overplayed, especially by other franchises, like the MCU with Marvel and all that? Because it is as a plot device, right? It's just it's a way to, have Captain America zombie or a Carter Captain America. Yeah.
No, it's there's I mean, what if line and Elseworlds line has always been a thing in both the comics and Christ and I mean there's always been the concept, at least in I don't pretend to know Marvel comics as well as I know DC, but the whole concept of the multiverse has always been a thing. And occasionally you get something like the Crisis on the Infinite Earth storyline that kind of mushes everything together and creates one universe, but then ultimately the multiverse starts up again, and there's really no way to not have a multiverse, at least not in the DCU.
Do you think there's a multiverse out there where I will have like hair on my head still?
I don't see why not.
Hair. There's ways.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
There's
always hope.
I think he's talking about without the need of a wig, dude.
Go ahead, Dirk.
I grew up on comic books, so yeah, multiverse is old hat for me, but it's definitely a new thing for mainstream media within the last few years. And based on box office performance, I don't know. I'm kind of worried that the general audience is getting a little sick of it, but we'll see. I have nothing wrong with multiverse concepts. The one danger of overdoing it is that you can render any kind of character death meaningless because you can always just grab another version of him from somewhere else. So that's always a problem. And in the comic books, that's obviously not a big deal because comic books are soap operas. They're constantly pulling crazy things. But in the limited scope of doing a movie series of the comic book characters, you definitely have a more need for growth and consequences just because you're doing actors who age in real time and you can only make so many of these things. So, you kind of have to limit yourselves a little bit in how crazy you get. So there is certainly a danger of rendering consequences meaningless. So I hope they don't swing too far in that direction. But yeah, personally, I think multiverses are cool. And the mirror universe is kind of a funny precursor of the whole multiverse concept because obviously in 1967 they were not saying, oh, this is a physics theory where every choice creates a parallel universe. They were just doing, oh, we'll do evil versions of them. And also that was started in DC comic books 3 years previously with the Earth 3 evil characters in the Justice League. So I don't know if whoever wrote Mirror Mirror got the idea from that or not, but 3 years previously the DC comic books introduced the evil alternate universe, and then Star Trek did it later. And obviously the mirror universe was always just one universe. It wasn't a multitude. So in later Star Trek series, we started dealing with stuff like that. But yeah, the mirror universe was always just like there's only one other universe and it's evil. Like there's not infinite universes. So it's very limited in scope.
Interesting. Now, do you think Star Trek will continue this tradition of mirror universes or at least alternate timelines and future content?
Oh, yeah.
It becomes a trope of Star Trek, right? You can't not do it, right?
Yeah, it's a trope of science fiction and Star Trek at this point. You can't not do it.
Well, I mean, for purposes of Discovery, they did explain that that part of the reason they had to write Giorgio off Discovery is because there's something to do with how the mirror universe not only died out eventually because, as I said, it's eventual that kind of universe cannot thrive, cannot continue based on the rules of the universe itself. But also they like the universes got so far out of sync that she got sick from it, which also I guess doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it does. And yeah. But yeah, I think the possibility of alternate universes either in Star Trek or elsewhere is always, it can be fun to play with. It can be there is a potential for it being overused like it was in DS9. There's also something that I've heard, kicked about, stuff, concepts like the Mirror of Universe or Section 31 are ways of making Star Trek characters behave badly in a way that excuses the bad behavior.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be in a utopia and they're not supposed to turn evil.
Right. And for the most part, I do see what that argument gets to, or what they argue. I do see that the merit in that argument. That the problem I have with the concept of the future being this utopia is there's a danger of complacency.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of see that in Picard, where, it started off with like the Dominion War, and it's like the whole concept of, well, the war can never come to Earth, except it does. Earth can never be attacked, except it gets attacked by the Borg. Nothing can happen nothing can happen that will cause tragedy in our little teeny tiny corner of the universe, except it does. And part of the reason why it does is because the people on Earth, the people in charge of the Federation, got so complacent about security and stuff. It's like apologies to anyone who doesn't like me quoting Harry Potter at this point, but Mad-Eye Moody has this phrase, constant vigilance. If you're not vigilant about certain things, then the unthinkable happens. If you don't stop to think about what could happen, then what you don't think is going to happen happens. And it's like that's that we've seen that with like 9/11. We've seen that with the various cycles of rising and falling of fascism and stuff like that in the real world. And so this is it's a good mirror for thinking about what could happen and how to be prepared for what could happen. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I was going to make a joke, but no, this is actually serious. The joke I was going to make is that we have the Kelvin timeline too. So, okay.
I mean, the Kelvin timeline. I don't know that they've like necessarily referred to the Kelvin timeline yet directly, but the Romulan supernova did happen, and there's at least one. I think in the first Picard novel, there is a mention of Spock going back to Romulus to help.
All right.
And I think that's where the whole, when the supernova happens, that's how he gets carted off to the Kelvin timeline. So yeah.
Nice.
Speaking of alternate Star Trek timelines, I'm just now belatedly remembering. So I mentioned how there was, after Nemesis, there was this huge sprawling continuity line of novels where everybody crosses over and it's all one big story. That continuity did end a couple of years ago with this trilogy called Coda, the last book of which was by David Mack, who's awesome. And basically what they did was they basically said that the entire novel continuity that was overwritten by the events of the Picard TV show and the Discovery TV show, they said that was an alternate universe that they were in the entire time. So the events of Picard, so the events of Picard and Discovery, they're the prime timeline, and the hundreds of novels that we've been reading for the last 10 or so years were in a splinter timeline. And the splinter occurred at first contact when the Borg went back in time. That's when the split happened. It was that time portal. So everything after that in the novels, which also includes the movies Insurrection and Nemesis, didn't happen in the Prime timeline. Now, obviously, the events of Insurrection and First Contact or Nemesis still happened, but they're saying, like, as far as their universe is concerned, that's where they split off, and there was this whole universe-ending crisis in the book. I won't spoil how it happens, but that's how they got rid of that entire line of continuity. They established that this was a splinter timeline, and that so like there's the TV timeline, and then they were off in their own little thing after that point.
Makes sense. I mean, they kind of did the same thing with the Star Wars Legends universe too. I mean, they could. I mean, in theory, they probably could have continued that off as a splinter timeline, but they're not doing. But they're not. So
I wish they had. I still hope they do that one day, because Legends was my jam.
Well, there's stuff I like. There's stuff I like about the current timeline, but there's stuff I wish had not been canceled in the Legends timeline. I'm looking at you, Sword of the Jedi trilogy, that I am still bitter about.
Wow. All right. Any last thoughts about mirror universes and parallel universes and alternative timelines within Star Trek?
No,
I don't think so. I mean, I just, since Derek brought it up, I mean, there was this like massive, crossover continuity at some point after like Nemesis in the novels, but prior to that, there were some authors who would borrow characters from each other in the novels. So you could think of the entire, like all the novels up until Coda as part of, or most of the novels up until Coda, like as like part of a shared universe too. So that was also really fun.
As a very minor aside, I do know that the Vanguard series, again by David Mack, that took place during the TOS era, and it was this kind of Babylon 5 style serialized storyline on a space station. It was very good. It was 9 novels long, and they did say that is still in continuity because it took place in the TOS era, and they actually did a sequel novel to it in the new continuity after the whole Coda thing happened. So that series was allowed to continue existing because it took place prior to Nemesis.
I will need to go. I have it. I have those somewhere. I need to go check those out at some point.
That's awesome, guys. Awesome. Good talk. Yay. Right. Let's close our doors, so to speak, because I need to edit and get this out, and this hopefully will get out by tomorrow. So this show is available on most podcast platforms and on YouTube. Subscribe today. For social media, we're on Instagram and whatever this thing called X is about still. And if you wish to contact us directly, our email address is management@scifipubcast.space. We love hearing from our customers. So, folks, where can people find you on social media? Let's go with Keri.
If I am on social media, or if I'm on a social media platform, rather, you can pretty much find me at Keri Blackfire42. That's Keri Blackfire42. Or you can listen to one of my other podcasts, DC Talk, Cape Chronicles, or Enter the Dojo over on the Random Terror Network.
That's excellent. And Derek?
I am at Derek J. Beebe on Twitter, and my website, derekbeebe.com, is up there, and you can see my final book 1 cover on there. It looks great.
Nice.
Should be for what I spend on it.
Ooh, good. You could have hired me. I could have drawn you a stickman or two. Well. Anyway, I'm on X/Twitter at Joel_Welch. I use my real name on social media. I'm on many of the platforms. Just Google my first and last name. I should pop up with my ugly mug. Because in this timeline, I have a beard and I'm bald. There's that in this universe. It's closing time. Take care. Please make it home safe. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Duran. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly, and we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.